It's for us tall people, I guess. Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Pleasure. So, great. Learning every day. Thank you very much for joining us today on today's session. My name is Princess Dr. Nikki Webam, the founder and the global president of African Indigenous Leaders. And we are here today with this program of Science Forum South Africa, which is the 10th year. So I think we are celebrating a decade of this annual event. You can just clap hands for that.
Of course.
And also it comes on a very important time when South Africa was also hosting the G20. We just came back from the G20 Leaders Summit, and we had the G20 Social Summit, and as C20 we also hosted a C20 Summit, which is civil society, and I was part of that as a lead facilitator for cultural diversity, recognition and embracement. Thank you very much. So our session today is on Indigenous Knowledge Systems, which is IKS, pathway to IKS economies for sustainable development. During the South African G20's presidency, the C20 consultations highlighted the importance of indigenous knowledge systems for inclusive and sustainable development. Key concerns included the marginalization of indigenous economies, loss of traditional knowledge, and limited access to digital, economic, and climate finance opportunities. Our recommendations focused on indigenous-led innovation, IKS-driven village ecosystems, and rights-based policies that embed IKS across development sectors. We also called for improved digital access, equitable financing, stronger STEM and policy training, and integration of indigenous research into national innovation systems. Further priorities included intellectual property protection, scaling regenerative practices for climate resilience, and building culturally grounded leadership programs. These pathways positioned IKS as a transformative model for people-centered and sustainable development within the G20 process. Understanding indigenous knowledge systems. Indigenous knowledge systems refer to the collective wisdom, as you can see from the picture that is shared. This wisdom is taken from our communities, shared between the communities and the indigenous leaders. And governance models developed by communities over centuries of interacting with their natural environment. These knowledge systems are holistic, place-based, experiential, and transmitted through generations. So in some communities, you can still find that there are people who sit around and transfer this knowledge, and sometimes the elders will be educating the children, or some of the knowledge you can receive it through spirituality, which is gifts from our ancestors, that will tell you about the herbs or about the things that are about to happen. IKS integrates spirituality, environmental understanding, cultural values, social governance, and economic practices. It is not merely traditional knowledge. It is a living, adaptive system that responds to changes in climate, culture, and society. So we do embrace spiritual leaders, and every kingdom in Africa should have the seers, the diviners, people who are able to interpret the dreams and also foresee disasters before they even happen. To unlock IKS economies, we must recognize indigenous knowledge as an economic asset that supports value creation, innovation, and entrepreneurship. IKS economies include value-added herbal products, cultural tourism, indigenous cuisine markets, community seed banks, ecosystem services, payment schemes, and bioprospecting partnerships. Communities become innovators, producers, researchers, and economic actors rather than mere custodians. As you can see from this picture, the first one is Barotseland. So this is an event that happens around April, but this event cannot happen. They cannot set a date until they see the rains and the floods. So these are flood plains in the Barotseland, and this ceremony is called the Kuomboka. So these are other ceremonies that attract tourists because the king moved from a flooded area to an upper village. Kuomboka means rising above. So they rise. So there are many activities that take place here. But what is also important is that for them to be able to move, there must be enough water for the boats to be able to flow. And also we can use weather detectors here so that the kings can be able to tell exactly when they can have enough rains, heavy rains, and so on. So these are other things that we need to look into. On the other picture here, this is where that ceremony starts. But what is important in this picture is that there are these trees in the palace. What attracted me a lot is that the trees there that surround where people can be walking around, also going to the sacred place here. I was told that if you walk there, even if you were angry, you wanted to kill, or you had something that you wanted to do, anything that is evil, when you start to walk there next to those trees, you become happy, you can laugh, you can even laugh to the enemy, or laugh to the person that you intended to harm. So this is important because we do have a lot of our herbs that can do a lot. They do protection for our kingdoms, and they do cleansing, and these are things that we need to tap into as we discuss today. To further discuss the power of IKS economies, patterns to inclusive and sustainable development, we are going to be joined by the experts. So please let me welcome our panelists that have joined us. Professor, sorry if I think I've spelled your name wrongly there. Professor, please join us to the tables, and also we are joined by Uyathandwa Nkosi from Umphakathi Peace Village. We are going to be joined later by Mr. Bandile Zagavu. Unfortunately, Dr. Moyo from Zambia is not here. He thought that we're going to have maybe a virtual, which is not going to be happening. And we are joined by Ubanikazi Umlwana Umamtolo, who is the founder of the Indigenous Professionals of Southern Africa and Icamago Institute. Thank you. Please let's clap hands for them as they join us for their presentations.
Greetings, fellow South African citizens. All protocols observed. My name is Uyathandwa Nkosi, an ambassador from the Umphakathi Eco Village, and I will be representing my mentor, the woman that I look up to, Sarah Mota, and I will be showing you her work that she has been doing for the past 20 years. Unfortunately, she couldn't join us today because she had to attend an event at Eastern Cape, but I will take place today. Okay. Peace with us is peace within ourselves. Abstract according to Bacon's of Hope, which are divided into three. The first one is community, where eco-villages serve as international communities dedicated to sustainable living and community values. The second one is synthesis, which represents a unique blend of traditional indigenous knowledge and modern scientific approaches. And the third one is African context, where bridging civil society and government to foster peace and sustainability across the continent. What is an eco-village? We may ask ourselves. An eco-village is defined as a human-scale settlement integrated with nature according to Gilman. Historically, it is linked with communes, activism, ashrams, and cooperatives. Today's focus is ecology, spirituality, and cultural renewal. Climate challenges that we face. Urbanization and disconnection as the global migration to cities, which leads to a profound disconnection from nature, fostering competition and violence, according to Dawson in 2006. The second one is erosion of tradition. Rampant communalism is eroding rural traditions and biodiversity, while climate change intensifies poverty and migration pressures. So now we're going to speak about the spiritual dimensions. The first one is indigenous cosmologies, which is viewing the earth not as a resource but as an ancestor and a sacred trust. The second one is sacred rituals, where practices of gratitude, prayer, and seasonal ceremonies to honor the land that we live in. And the third one is healing, which focuses on addressing trauma through deep reconnection with the natural world. The last one is consciousness, spirituality as the foundational root of true ecological awareness. Cultural dimensions. Arts as education is storytelling, song, and dance serve as vehicles for ecological knowledge. The second one is ceremony, where traditional ceremonies reinforce a deep spiritual and respect for nature. The third one is communal values, which prioritizes the community's well-being over individualistic consumer culture. And the last one is resilience. Reviewing indigenous practices builds cultural strength and identity. So we're going to look at the case study for Umphakathi Peace Eco Village. Our mission and origins. Umphakathi Peace Eco Village was founded in South Africa by Sarah Mota with a mission to build ecological peace through indigenous practice. The key activities are permaculture, peace circles, and cultural exchange programs. The impact that Umphakathi Peace Eco Village has is fostering education for sustainability, intergenerational learning, and community resilience. The African Eco Village movement, which was recognized by UNESCO and UNICEF for their contribution to sustainable development. About 5,000 plus communities are found in Senegal. 23 registered eco-villages across Africa, and 9 active eco-villages in South Africa that are recognized by UNICEF and UNICEF. The challenges that we face in South Africa, the first one is social economic pressures, where rural-urban migration is depopulating villages, exacerbated by poverty, unemployment, HIV and AIDS, and also xenophobia. The second one is developmental hurdles, where consumerism shapes rural aspirations, while weak rural development budgets hinder sustainable progress, according to Hall et al. In 2010. Eco-villages as solutions. Alternative practices are combating waste, pollution, and violence with sustainable systems, education centers, were hubs for sustainable rural development learning, social capital for building local skills and community trust, and the last one is knowledge bridge, connecting modern science with indigenous wisdom. Defining ecological peace. Peace is harmony with nature, culture, and spirit. Eco-villages act as laboratories of sustainability where indigenous practices become pathways to reconciliation, and climate justice is rooted in cultural identity. So now we're going to look at the global relevance. Universal models are applicable models of sustainability for both developed and developing nations. UN SDGs are direct contribution to climate action, peace, and quality education goals. The last one is necessity, where ecological peace is no longer a luxury but a global necessity for survival. The action steps that are required: the first one is policy, which recognizes indigenous knowledge in national policy frameworks; support, which provides resources for ecologists and grassroots movements; engagement, which encourages intercultural dialogue and active youth engagement; and the last one, which is practice that incorporates ecological spirituality into daily lives. For millennials, small communities lived in balance with their environment. Eco-villages revive this wisdom, a call to honor ancestors and future generations. Closing remarks. You can contact Umpire Peace Eco-Village on the internet, and eco-villages are not just places, they are pathways to peace. Thank you, and Nkosi siyabonga Thokoza.
Thank you very much, Umphakathi. We are going to call upon Professor Momoho Chu from Tshwane University of Technology.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you very much for focusing on indigenous knowledge that we have ignored very much, and is not included in the education system. The indigenous knowledge created in Africa is incredible, but we don't know it. We don't know ourselves. That's our problem. Yeah? So we need to know ourselves.